Coach, it's the beginning of conference play. You want to give us a preview of South Dakota State?
Yeah, excited to get going. Excited to get back in here and get a game week going. I think the bye week came at a good time, but we're all ready to get back to playing football. So we had a good practice last night. Today's the players' day off, and then we'll get right back to our normal week schedule on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, travel on Friday, and play South Dakota State. Obviously, everybody knows about their success and the type of team that they have, and respect Coach Stiegelmeier and what he's been able to do up there and the consistency that program has. So we're going on the road. It'll be our fourth road game out of 5 games, so we're accustomed to doing that, and we understand the routine that goes with that. And it's a good environment to play in against a top 5 opponent. I think they're ranked 3rd. I don't know what they are this week, but a great opponent but we'll be excited and ready to play. So, injury update for us. I know that I'll get some questions, but DJ's doing a good job. He'll be out this week, obviously, but it does look promising that we'll get him back here in the next few weeks. He's moving it around, range of motion. It was a dislocation in his elbow, but when they set it back in, he didn't have any fractures or any ligament damage, which is a good thing. So now it's just about letting that thing scar down, and then we'll be able to play him with a brace, possibly, 3 weeks. So, looking here in the net, maybe miss a few weeks, but then we'll get him back for a good stretch of our conference play. Jeremy will transition and see into practice this week, and his has got good news as far as so his will be just a day-to-day thing. Madre Harper was in practice last night, full go in practice, and will be that way throughout the week. He missed the game against Arkansas State. You guys can help me out. I'm trying to think if anybody else that would be as with injuries. Yeah, Chucky got good news on his. Chucky was in a limited participant last night, but went through everything, and then he'll be able to. We'll look for him to play on this coming Saturday. And then obviously we talked about, or you and I did, about Blake Parzic has been suspended from the team, and we'll work through that and work, and had a good conversation with Blake, and obviously disappointed in the decisions that he's made, and like we talk about all the time, how he responds from here, and we'll be here to help him through all that. But there's some things that he's got to get figured out, and we'll let those things play out, and then give you an update on his status going forward.
Update on your quarterback?
Stone, still same as last week. He'll meet with this week at the 4-week mark, and kind of get reevaluated, and we'll know more at that point as far as so right now there's really not much update. I think he's feeling better, but we won't really know until they get back in there and reevaluate him.
You talked after the game at Arkansas State, the off week, you look at yourself, self-scouting. How much do you actively try to disguise what you're doing, and how well do you feel like you do that? If people are looking at your tape, when you look at the first 4 games.
Yeah, you're always trying to disguise things or not, but every team has tendencies. By the time you get 5-6 weeks into the season, you are lined up, blocking people, getting off blocks, throwing and catching, the fundamental things. But there are some things that you want to set your team up, that if you're giving something away, that certain things are coming, whether it's formations or backfield sets or depths or tendencies on 3rd downs or on 1st and 2nd down of run heavy, and then teams can kind of scheme you up. You try to think into the other team's mind of, okay, this is what they're seeing, this is why they're calling these things, and try to just self-evaluate yourself. You're always doing that. You always have some different people throughout the week. You always do a self-scout every single week. But with a bye week, you can probably spend a lot more time really dive into some specific things. And so I thought it was beneficial to really, you challenge yourself and make sure that you're continuing to do a good job.
Playing two FBS teams, was there anything in those two games that you felt your team's ready to take that next step in the Valley?
Well, like I've told our team, I think when you come out of it, we're 2-2, and we've deserved that record. I think there's been at times we've played really well and proven that we can go and be a good football team. And then there's times that against good football teams, I think that we've played for quality opponents, and that at times that when you don't do the small things right, then anybody can beat you, and that's what we're going to go up against each and every week. It'll be like on repeat in here, who we're about to play could beat us. And we feel confident that if we do our job and play the way that we're capable of, that we can win a lot of football games too. And so I think that they believe that. I do feel like, maybe the difference than in the past was at that Arkansas State, even when we, made a couple of mistakes, but there in the third, fourth quarter, I feel like everybody on the sideline had that feeling that we can go win this football game. And so, that's important. And I think we all know, especially the veteran guys that we have in here, like I just said, I mean, each and every week in this league, you got to be prepared, and if you don't do the small things, you'll get beat.
You've always liked playing 80 plays or sometimes even more than that, but you've proven that you're a pretty good time of possession team that can run the ball and take your time. Has that been a hard transition for you, or is it something you just kind of keep in your back pocket? If we want to go fast, we can go fast.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, maybe you get, we've played up tempo at times, but we've never, even in the last few years, been a team that whenever you scout us or whatever, that we're going this crazy speed where we're just trying to snap the ball a ton. And we're going to do what we've always, every single year, ran the ball more than we've thrown the ball. I mean, so that's every single season that I've been here. So if you look at our percentages, it's a run first team. So I don't know where any of that has come from, but we have in the past played from behind a lot, and so the last few years in this league, so things are dictated. I think that you're always going to try to establish the run. I don't know if we look at or many people do as much like what the time of possession is as far as like your efficiency on every drive. As far as you want to be efficient. You don't want to have any 3 and outs. You want to be able to stay on the football field, but you also want to have explosive plays, chunk plays, and but it is important that you control the football, and you do a good job for your defense as an offensive play caller, or what type of game. Every game's different. Obviously, we'll go into this game and you know your opponent and you have your game plan going in there, but we don't go in there saying, hey, we got to. What time of possession is never a goal of ours.
We have a question submitted online. The question is, what adjustments do you make to the running game to compensate for the loss of DJ Davis?
Next man up. I mean, we don't really, scheme-wise, you can't create many more schemes or whatever it is. I mean, it's got to be a next man up mentality. We feel like. Obviously Javon and things that he can do, and then Romir is back, and so after missing 1 week, he was back, against Arkansas State, but feel like he's a guy that's just going to continue to get better as a true freshman. And then Tremaine Lee's got to be ready to go, and it really kept a great attitude and had a really good preseason camp and done a good job here in the first few weeks. Just hasn't seen many carries, but he's got. First thing that you can say about a player is his effort and the way he plays the game, and you put on that film, and that's the way he plays. I mean, he plays extremely hard. He rarely, they sub him out maybe more this year than they have in the past, but he doesn't want to come off the field. I mean, he's just a tough football player. it's like I've said before. I mean, rarely do teams specifically game plan for a guy they put in the middle. I mean, you be able to block him. You got to be able to play physical and match his intensity and match his physicality. But as far as what you can do, I mean, they put him in good spots where he can go make plays, and so we'll be aware of where he's at and aware of the things he's able to do. But we got to protect the football, and but we put pressure on the quarterback. We're going to have to continue to do that. We had 5 sacks, didn't get any takeaways. Had a couple opportunities there. Quay had one that kind of was an opportunity on a bad ball that the mistakes that they made, we weren't able to capitalize on as far as takeaways go. And so when you look back and you're on the road and you're playing a really good FBS opponent, you're going to have to turn them over. You're going to have to make them pay for some critical mistakes, and we weren't able to do that. And then they got the chunk plays, the drive before the half. We've got to be better in our closing before the half, and at the end of the football game, we've got to be closers, and we didn't do that.
The reason I ask is, your former boss was extolling the virtues of Tracy Claeys. Just talked to me on the parking lot 2 or 3 weeks ago at Washington State. His team threw 9 touchdown passes on offense, but lost.
Mm-hmm.
The game is I don't even know what I'm watching anymore sometimes. Your defense is going to give up chunk plays. It's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Everybody can do it.
I mean, each week it really is. I know that you can't get into stats, or you get into feeling like you guys you've arrived, or you'll get humbled pretty quick. It is there's a lot of parity. There's a lot of good football players. There's a lot of good offensive players out there. You've got to be able to do the fundamental things that you got to do. Is you got to tackle. You got to be able to get off blocks. As an offensive guy, you feel like you have the marker last. Like, well, if we do this, we'll stop it. Yeah, well, what if we do this? We'll read this guy, or we'll put this guy. It comes down to the fundamental things. When you look back, you can't beat yourself. You can't get lined up wrong with the tempo offenses or shifts and motions. And broke one tackle, and now it's a 42-yard explosive chunk play, but it really was just a simple throw and catch and a missed tackle. Those are the things when you go back that you got to be good at, and good teams can do that. And a lot of that has to do with recruiting really good players. If you can line up, and there's a lot of things that are open down the field, but you got a great pass rusher, and the quarterback doesn't have time to find him and throw those touchdown passes, well, then it's a good player over there. So just comes down to those type of things. But yeah, you see a lot of offense going on, points. There's a lot of good coaches that are on those teams that are giving up those points or scoring those points too. There's a lot of good coaches out there that have good schemes, but that's why it's each week you just got to be prepared, do the best job you can.
You haven't scored on defense, but you have 5 turnovers and forced 5 turnovers. Have you seen that chain reaction in your defense, where you get a pass rush, you force a bad ball, or your coverage does something to make the quarterback hang on to it, maybe you force the fumble?
Yeah, I mean, we've got to be better. We're even right now. So I mean, it's been in the past where we've been in the negative. So going into conference play, we've played some good opponents too. That's the one thing is for 4 weeks in is that's where now all the stats are the same, because we're all playing like opponents, and they'll usually the best teams will now see, and so. But yeah, turnover margin. I think that we've proven that we play well off of each other in the games that we're getting turnovers, and we go score off points and we get those momentum. But we got to continue to do that. But yeah, that what you said. I mean, pass rush. I mean, all those things of getting turnovers. That's what great defenses do, is they play off of each other, and we got to continue to do that. I mean, there's no secret to us to go on the road and play well this weekend. I mean, we got to play great on special teams. I can remember, the last time we were up there, we felt like Craig James, who made a big play. Shout out to Craig on a big play. But I felt like Craig that season played as good as anybody in our conference. I've said that. Go back to our press conferences, I continue to say that he should have been an all-conference player. He was at South Dakota State. He has a pick, and they don't give it to him. I don't know if you remember that. They reviewed it and said there wasn't an angle for the pick, but he picks the ball off on their first drive in the red zone, and then we don't get the pick. It was almost like a deflating moment on our sideline. They go down and score. We were still thinking that, like, well, that should have been an interception. They scored. We get the ball. They block a punt. You know, just little things like that, and then you look back and you don't win. You don't play well, and it was a couple plays, and so we've got to play great on. We got to play great on special teams, and we have to create some turnovers. We've got to sack the quarterback. We got to put pressure on the quarterback, and we got to play fundamentally sound to go on the road against the number 3 team in the country. You know, I don't know when the last time, you know, we've had a top 5 win. This is a top 5 team, and we got to be excited about going and doing that.
You bring up special teams. Logan Backus blocked 2 field goals. I don't know if I've ever seen that before, but when you looked at that, I mean, are you able to tell, was it really a low kick, or was he that deep in the line he was able to do that?
They always do a great job, and then they've blocked you know, punts. This year they you know, like I said, they blocked one in 2017 against us, and then got a hand on one last year. They're usually pretty aggressive as far as they're coming after kicks. So I mean, we've got to be ready to do that. It's usually a little bit windy up there. It blows a little bit up there, and so the kicking game, whether knowing the situations, when we have it, when to be aggressive. I think that, Jack's ability to rugby kick will help in some of those situations. And so, we got to continue to build on special teams. I like where we're going in special teams. We've given up some plays. I think that our guys are extremely locked in to being a good special teams unit. I think Coach P does a great job of his plan, and not only his plan, but teaching the fundamentals and just getting guys excited about being on those units. So I look for us we need to, and I'm excited and optimistic that we will continue to show growth in those and have some, even like Javon, back there, punt returner. I mean, we had four returns for 30-something yards. A couple of those are big time. Just catching that ball. If you can catch the ball and then go get to a first down of the drive, I mean, it's incredible what the statistics are of going down and then scoring. If you let that thing bounce and it goes, I mean, those are the hidden yardage in that is such a big, can be 30, 35 yards in one play. And so we've got to continue to buy into that, and I know our coaches are doing a great job of coaching that up.
Nick, I don't know what the rules are during the bye week. Do you do any recruiting or anything like that? Do you travel?
Yeah, no, we all got on the road. Our schedule last week, we practiced on Tuesday and Wednesday afternoon. We practiced Thursday morning, then gave the coaches an opportunity to get out on the road after practice and be gone on Thursday, watch some games on Friday night. And so took a great opportunity for us to get on the road and continue to recruit. I was on the road in Springfield and then in Chicago, and then was back here on Saturday. So it was all of our coaches were on the road, and it's a great time, especially 4 or 5 weeks into high school season, is to get out and see some guys.
You can't talk to them,
Right,
right?
you can't. It's an evaluation period. You can talk to the high school coach. You can go in there and evaluate transcripts and talk to the coaches. Watch practice, watch games, but no interaction with them on site. And then they can call you, and you got you're able to talk to them on the phone, but not in person.
You're no longer new at this. Are you recognized by some of these principals or whoever you're going to talk to?
Well, yeah, I mean, you should be. Especially if you recruit the same area for a long period of time, it's part of you get to know different people in the school and do a great job of when you come in. It's the same thing I tell our players. I mean, the secretary, how you speak to them, doing a great job. You walk in there with your walking billboard for SIU, your logos, and especially the schools that get recruited a lot. They recognize your, schools, or, hey, you're probably here to see Coach so-and-so, because they get the drill whenever the coach comes in the polo and khakis. They're here to see Coach. So, but yeah, you get especially the schools that you recruit for a long time.
right side of your line, O-line was new. How happy you been with their performance and their development?
I think good, just continuing to grow. Every rep's just so, they're just growing opportunities for them, for Calvin and Bo. I think that we've seen some good fronts. We've seen some different fronts. We've seen, odd structures. We've seen bear. We've seen 4-eye. We've seen an even front, which we'll go against more this week, and probably more so in our league. I know there's a few teams that are odd in our league. So for a young player, I think it's extremely important to get all of that stuff in, especially in the first 4 games. And then the last week, I think, win against an end that might be the best that we see all year. We're going to see some really good players in this league, but Bradley King from ASU is a good one. And so Bo's had some growing pains, gave up some things, but you like that. You like them being tested. You like them being, earning their stripes a little bit. And those guys have done some really good things, and they continue to grow. So I've been happy with those two.
I can see Javon's a big guy and he's quick, but have you been surprised how hard he has been to tackle for people that even know seem to know he's getting the ball?
Yeah, I think that's kind of what he's always done, whether it's scrimmages or you go back to his high school film or whatever it is. I mean, he's a tough guy to tackle just because he's got a little bit of everything as far as run with power. But he's just such a thick guy. He's not easy just to arm tackle or tackle in general. He's 240 pounds, and he's, so yeah, he's a tough guy to tackle. And so, but it's definitely not a surprise because we've seen that in the last year and a half since he's been here.
Coach, the California governor signed into Fairfield to play act today for their state. I guess I was wanting to get your thoughts on that and the direction college athletes seem to be going.
I would probably to even comment on that because I just really haven't spent much time studying up on the ins and outs on really what even I see that it's going on. I didn't know that it was ruled on today. I've been in there thinking about third downs and red zone instead of what the California government's doing, to be honest with you. So I know that stuff is down the line, and it is a big deal. Obviously, my stance has always been what we can do for these student athletes and support them the most that we can. And there's any opportunity, being a past player that we can, we'll do. I think that it'll, just like anything, you'll adapt, you'll adjust, and people will get together and do what's best for the student athlete. And so hopefully that's what happens here. Hopefully it's a step in the right direction. But like I said, I don't know much of the ins and outs on any of that.
SDSU, they've played some not so great competition, but they've also played some good teams. Why are they hard to run against? Obviously they've got the good linebackers, but is it more them, or is it more the whole front seven that just doesn't give you a lot of room?
I think front seven. I think just solid football players up and down the line, depth. They're playing a lot of guys in that front seven, similar to like we do. Got good scheme, move around a little bit up front with some line games. They're pressuring a little bit more than they have in the past. New coordinator, but just to always do a solid job. I mean, Coach Stiegelmeier, I think that when you put that defense out there, it's really just consistent, hard-nosed, play hard, tough. And that usually makes for a good defense. So not like I said, not really no one in our leagues really out there try to trick you. They're going to line up and they're going to do what they do. They're always going to put their guys in good position, and so they do a good job of mixing things up. With their fronts and their line games, and they're going to get that seventh guy or 12 personnel, get 8 guys down there and try to make it tough on you to run the ball.
If they do that, you're going to learn something about your quarterback, aren't you?
Yeah, I think that it's a pretty easy math. You get too many guys down in there, you've got to be able to throw the ball, or you've got to be able to get enough guys in there to block them. It's the same thing. I mean, our game plan will be to take what they're giving you and let our players go make plays.
Their quarterback is a redshirt freshman from Chicago. He threw a fade on 4th and 3 that they scored on. I think they threw it to Johnson. But is he just really confident? What are your impressions of?
Yeah, he's a kid that we know quite a bit about as far as when we recruited him. Was in the same class as Javon and he's won us the Illinois State Championship at Phillips and does a good job. You can tell he's a confident kid and got banged up in that Minnesota game, missed 2 weeks, and then was back last week. Coming off a bye, expect anybody that they've had banged up to be ready to go. And they've had just as much time to prepare for us as we had them, and so it's. But he's a good player. He really is. He was a winner in high school. It's tough, but he's a big kid too. Similar to like I said, kind of like a Javon. And as far as I think that maybe it's the hand, I don't know, but I mean he's a capable runner. He's a good runner. So the quarterback run game's got a strong arm, a really strong arm, and so but he's a young kid, so this will be his third game. He's got good players around him. They do a great job schematically of putting him in good positions to make plays.
And you remember Strong, obviously, and Wilson, 20 and 8. Are they two quicker running backs that you'll see in this league?
Strong can do a little bit of everything, make you miss, run with some power. Wilson's a electric kid that's fast, good in the return game. But he'll. I mean, he's a strong kid too. So I mean, they're deep and really good at running back, and they're going to want to run the football. And and Johnson's really good. Anderson's a really good receiver that's played a long time in our league too. The kid that we recruited, and so they're good again. They kind of just next guy up, and they're a great program, and they got good players.
Anything else?
That's it.
Coach?
Thank you.